Today we got to talk about the news that has developed since the report surfaced about Nebraska wanting out of its game against Oklahoma, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, let's talk about this story that has been developing over the last 12 hours about Nebraska looking to pull out of its game against Oklahoma. This game was originally set 10 years ago to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the game of the century between Oklahoma and Nebraska, two number one and number two teams, or I should say the number one and number two teams in the country that year, in a game that everyone remembers and remembers fondly. This is also dovetailing nicely with Oklahoma's rivalry with Nebraska that really set the tone for the Big 8 and heading into the Big 12. Nebraska was a juggernaut. Oklahoma was a juggernaut. Oklahoma particularly in the 70s and 80s, Nebraska particularly in the 90s, 95, 97 in particular. Scott Frost, the head coach at Nebraska, was the quarterback of that national championship team that was the Nebraska Cornhuskers in 1997. This morning, Stadium's Brett McMurphy published a report on Twitter that Nebraska was looking to pull out of its game against Oklahoma, and then take a look at their schedule, and you kind of see their point there. One, it's tough. Their first four games include Illinois, Oklahoma, Buffalo, and Michigan State. Michigan State beat Northwestern last year, the only team that did so before, we saw the Big Ten championship game, right? Also in there, Buffalo played in the MAC championship game, finished the season 6-1. Lance Leipold is the next up-and-coming Group of Five coach. I expect him to get a Power 5 job next year if Buffalo keeps this up. Illinois hires Brett Bielema. They feel so good about their roster that they decide to bring back 17 super seniors to give him 92 scholarship players. And then there's that 3 of those 4 games are on the road. Now, Nebraska, according to Bill Moos this afternoon, A, is keeping the game against Oklahoma, and B, have been looking to add an 8th home game to their slate because of the loss of revenue from the pandemic in 2020, which feels like it could work, except everybody lost money in 2020, number one. Number two, you did get to play. Number three, your head coach said, we will play anybody, anywhere. We just want to play. We'll play in Uzbekistan if we have to. We don't care what day of the week. We don't care what time. And then this report comes out. And then later, they had been looking to other Group of 5 teams to try to fill out that schedule, including teams like Old Dominion. You want to replace Oklahoma with Old Dominion, so you are adding a pay game where you said you were trying to make some money back. Now, perhaps you think you can make some profit by having that game in Nebraska, but you get how this also is just not really a good look for you. Even the saving face with the statement coming out later this afternoon about 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. One, people are going to remember that this report was surfaced. And two, it, for me, does not put away that Nebraska won't pull out of the game against Oklahoma down the road if they find something that they think is more palatable. A, because we've seen other teams do this, right? LSU did it a few years back, ended up getting Texas. Texas gave them everything they wanted, but they won a national championship that year, so people don't really remember it in that way. The other thing about that is Oklahoma is in a year in which it's going to compete for a national championship. And the idea that Nebraska wants to pull out of its game against Oklahoma in a year where Iowa State and Kansas State, if they had the opportunity, because it's conference, they wouldn't want to pull out of their game, which underscores this point. We have reached the point in college football history, about 152 years in, where Iowa State and the clones are better football programs than Nebraska, that they want the smoke from Oklahoma and that they have beaten Oklahoma, a couple of times in the last 4 years. And Nebraska, with its one opportunity to show everybody that its move to the Big Ten was not a total wash, could have had an opportunity where they show up in Norman, give Oklahoma the business with the best team they've had since 2017 and said, this is how we are announced we're coming in. You still have that opportunity, according to the statement, but the idea that you would want to even think about getting rid of that opportunity just smacks, because there are Nebraska fans that are in the comments on the video previous to this one, on Twitter, in my DMs, letting me know from the jump, hey, RJ, we're not cowards like that. We want the smoke. And we hope this isn't true, but it was true. And we're looking at it until apparently the public outrage by their fans and then by college football precipitated this statement. The idea that Oklahoma came out with a statement saying we want to play this game a full 4 hours before Nebraska did also just begs the question, what took you so long, Nebraska, when you knew this was how you were going to catch an L, right? One of my favorite comments on Twitter when I said this was a dude going, somebody covered the microphone like this and said, they did what to Florida? Now, that is sort of disingenuous because Florida wasn't playing with a full assortment of its nasty offensive roster. But you get the point there, right? There is no good way of looking at this from Nebraska's point of view. And the only way for you to save face is to be competitive against Oklahoma at a minimum. And then perhaps, wonder of wonders, get a win in Norman against the Rattler and Riley in a year in which I expect them to be in the national championship game, if not win the whole damn thing. Just wild all the way around. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.